Thank you to Blackology Coffee Company for sponsoring this video. Take 10% off your next order at Blackology Coffee Company by using the link in the description, www.blackologycoffeecompany.com/Angela. Sabria, you own Project Passport. You're also in a graduate degree program, and you're moving, so you have a lot going on right now. But aside from the moving, which is temporary, how did you decide, one, to kind of keep Project Passport going throughout your graduate degree, right? Because sometimes people feel like it's best to do one or the other, like wait till you graduate to start a business, but you decided to just, keep the baby in the bathwater together and just keep it moving, whatever happens. So
Yes. So as you know, I run Project Passport, and I really try not to see my degree as something that's a either or. I see it more as a supplement to what I do. I'm actually majoring in clinical mental health counseling, and my company is a mental well-being company. So I kind of think of it as this is just an extension of what I'm already doing, the research and things that I need to be doing to continue to grow myself and to continue to be knowledgeable about my product, about how to serve my clients and things like that. So I'm actually in a really good, I would say, situation by being in school doing my master's, because I'm doing a master's that ties directly into the work that I'm in now. So I know people are like, she's insane for doing both things, but they complement so well, and I'm really happy with what I'm doing. So it works out really well.
yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think that program that you're in is awesome. I had a similar experience where my master's degree complemented the work that I'm doing now. But again, like when I was doing that, I wasn't as like set on doing what I do now as a career, right? It was just something I was doing as, I guess, like what people call a side hustle. And then as I graduated, I was like, okay, like this could be a real thing. Like I could really like pursue this full time at some point. And so at that time, again, like I wasn't thinking in terms of like being a business owner, right? So what are some of the things that you've done to educate yourself about how to run a business and not just how to specifically serve clients?
Yes. So it's funny. Me running a business is literally, I'm one of those people that just jump on the bike. So I didn't really do as much prep probably as the average person should do. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I did a lot of things just through experimental basis. I think there's no perfect way to run a business. You can go through all the checklists and read all the books, but they never really prepare you to run a business. Like people have no idea what it really takes. And for me, I'm learning just through trial and error in many ways. Of course, I do have mentors, and I do sometimes read and get some kind of insight on things. But honestly, I never really had like a true full-blown business plan or anything like that. I never had anything like, anything that was like kind of in stone or structured, I would say. I'm more so focused on just sticking with the fact that I was passionate about what my product was. I'm passionate about mental well-being and allowing that to kind of drive my journey. Now, I don't recommend, I've been very blessed in my situation. I don't recommend everybody do what I do. I definitely say that you should go and do the research, LegalZoom, and use all the different programs to get you started. But for me, like I said, I didn't really do a lot of that kind of background. I just kind of jumped, made a website, and it just kind of worked out. And like I said, don't take my advice. No one listen to me. My way worked for me, but that was my way.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I had a similar experience, and I think sometimes that's like sometimes the best way to do it, because if you start learning and you do start saying, wow, this is going to be a lot of work, I think like it does set you up for like the analysis paralysis thing, where you think so much about it that you just don't end up doing anything, which is worse than not starting at all sometimes. So like
that's what I tell people. Starting is just the best way to do anything. It's just start. That's my biggest recommendation for people. So, I mean, you will make mistakes. Here's my thing. I'd rather be a decisive person that can make decisions, even if they're not always the best ones, than be indecisive and don't make decisions at all. I mean, you don't know until you try, and you won't learn until you've made that decision.
Yeah. Totally agree. So with Project Passport, you focus on mental health and mental like awareness and how you can develop positive coping mechanisms, things like that, to work through just anything that's happening in life, because bad things are going to happen. Things are not always going to be great. And even when things are great, that doesn't mean things can't be better. So what are some things that you have done during this pandemic? Because you've still been pretty active, even though you are in a lot of ways an event-based business. So you've had to transition like a lot of people to like still providing access to people virtually or online. So how has that experience been for you?
It's actually been, at first, I'm not gonna lie, I really did struggle when everything kind of happened. I had a really bad kind of emotional moment because I was really overwhelmed, because when the pandemic first hit, it changed my entire business model. Imagine having a travel related retreat experience and then all of a sudden it turned into a completely virtual business. There's no preparing you for something like that. So what I did was I focused on the fact that at the end of the day, we are a solution-based, tool-based mental well-being experience. Technically, it doesn't really matter where you do it. The point is you're getting tools, you're getting solutions, and you're finding ways to live better. And so for me, in a crazy way, now mental health is what everybody's talking about. Everybody's like, oh, mental health this, oh, mental health that. And I'm like, oh, wow, no one cared about this for the last like 10, 15 years. And now everybody's like, oh, wow, we have mental health. Oh my gosh. So that's kind of, so in a way, in a sick way, we found more success. I don't like to say sick, but it's sick in the way of like, I'm sad that it had to happen this way. But we found more success in the mental well-being space. We found more traction. We're working with companies now. We work with individuals. I mean, we have grown so much because now people are starting to identify that they need to get mental health, and they're also willing to do it virtually now. So it's been a good transition, been an important one. But I think the thing that's held us most through this is just standing behind the fact that our goal is to help people live more joyful lives and to live in a way that allows them to regain control of their lives. So those are the core things that we stuck with. So no matter if we're doing it virtually or in person, that was what we've always known about what we do.
Yeah. So, and I want to get your opinion on this again, because you are virtual now and still connecting with people and growing the amount of people who are interested in mental health awareness and working through their mental health issues. Throughout this pandemic, I think that our definition of community has greatly changed and expanded and shifted in new ways, because people are finding that they're not really happy in their own company, right? They do need a support system. They do need to support other people. And they need other people to support them, if they're going to work through this, this thing that nobody has ever seen in our lifetime, and hopefully we'll not see again. So like, what has been your experience in reorienting people around finding communities online?
I think it has been hard just because you're dealing with the voices of so many people trying to say, do this, here's that, do this, look at this group. It's been hard in that way, but I think one of the critical pieces of building that online community is being authentic. That's the number one thing I would say. And I know everybody's like, oh, be authentic, but I mean like be like really raw about what you're feeling and being relatable. So for example, one of the things that I do is I send out weekly emails. And a lot of these weekly emails that I send out to my community through Project Passport are very personal stories or very personal experiences that I've learned from. So for example, the last email that I sent this past week was about how I have to remember to delegate, because I got to a place where I started to get burnt out. We grew quickly because of this pandemic, and because we're now serving a new client base, which are these companies and organizations. I got to a point where I was doing everything, and I didn't really prepare to delegate as much work to my team because we were still small at the time. But we're not mom and pop anymore. We're really working with companies all over the US in many different ways. So I can't play every role anymore. I will literally lose my mind if I do. And so that burnout really had me messed up. So I wrote about that. I talked about that to people and explained to them that sometimes the best mental wellness is knowing when it's time to let go and pass that to other people. So I build community in that way of saying that, I'm with you. I'm part of that journey. I'm part of that experience. So a lot of the things we post, a lot of the things I say, they're truly authentic and raw. Sometimes maybe a little more revealing than many people will be, because I really think that's a very key part of building connection virtually, because with all the fakeness on the web and everybody has some Instagram profile and I'm a model and I live on a beach and all these things, you don't know what to believe. So I really work hard to make sure that I create a true kind of conducive environment for that.
Yeah. I think that's incredible too. I think, like, again, as somebody who's in the marketing world, I tell people, be authentic, share your story. But I can't say that I have done so much of that myself, just because I'm the person that's behind the camera. But I encourage it from other people. Not sure what that says about me, but yeah. We met virtually. So we had been connected on LinkedIn for a while, but also we were in a Facebook group together with some other people that I had connected with in person. So I kind of had a relationship with them, and they introduced us. And then another guest on the show, I don't know when they'll meet her. I'll keep her name, TBD in case they haven't met her yet. But you've also connected people outside of North Carolina, right? Again, not just for business, but or I would say not just for business, but you've connected with other business owners on a personal level, right? Even people that you don't always work with, which is awesome. And so you talked about having a mentor, having people that you can talk to, bounce ideas off of, ask questions about. What have been some of the most meaningful connections that you've made with mentors, and how did you make them?
Oh, that's a really good question. So it's crazy. I mean, I just kind of show up at events and show up to things whenever before the pandemic, and just showing up on social media or showing up in person. And so a lot of these connections have come from just saying hello. I mean, on LinkedIn, just commenting on something that I connect with and saying, oh, I love that thing that you posted. I relate in this way. And then they reach back out. So just really being real with the process, being real with just saying hi and building those connections in the way of, like, we have things in common. I mean, it's crazy, but people kind of forget that that's the basic level of life, just sharing things in common with other human beings, because we're all human beings at the end of the day. And so that's kind of what I do when I reach out on social media, is I find that commonality. Some of the people that I've met, one lady named Lori, and I had some other great people that I've connected with, and they've just taken to my cause. When I always think about my cause as something that's bigger than me. And it's not about trying to sell myself. It's about selling the fact that I believe mental health and well-being should be more accessible. It should be more experimental. It should be less judgmental and a sacred space. Like, those are just core things I believe. And finding other human beings who truly get that and connect with that makes it so much easier to network, makes it so much easier to make those connections, because now people associate with me with virtual retreats, mental well-being, solution-based, experimental, hands-on. People associate me with those things. And so now those connections start coming easier, because now people are saying, hey, you need to meet Sabria because she does this, or Sabria, you need to meet so-and-so because she does this. So a lot of those connections have come from just being who I am, one, and owning that. And then two, those connections have come from the fact that I believe in what I do, and I believe that others are going to believe in what I do if I'm authentic and raw about that process. So, I mean, I know it's really hard to really give a formula for those type of things. It's really hard. There's no perfect way to do it. But what I've learned is just being honest with myself in the process, and being honest with other people about where I stand. I always say to people, if you don't choose a side, that's okay, but you'll never connect to anyone. You have to choose a side. You have to choose a stake and put your stake in the ground. People who fail to do that is why they never make those real connections. That's why they never really take off, because they're not willing to put their stake in the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that. Showing up as your authentic self is very important. And I think too, that's really important in an age right now where politics dominate a lot of people's online lives. And I think, like, the way I look at it as, like, yes, like, people's political affiliations may be the most dominant thing that you see, but when you dig deeper on the surface, you may find that, like, you guys are both dog people. Like, you really love dogs, you love going to dog parks with your dog, or you're a really big baseball fan. So, like, what really is true and core to your identity and who you are as a person is so much bigger than that. And so you have to be cognizant of what are the values, one, that you are presenting to the world, and what are the things that you truly care about that make your life what it is and make you who you are as a person. And I think that more often than not, you will find that there's so much more that connects us as people than what we realize. So.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely.
So thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate you coming out. And good luck on your move to Durham. Durham is the best city
Uh,
ever. I can't say enough good things about it. So,
Thank you so much for having me, Angela. I'm really grateful to be here. And just throughout the chaos of life, I've realized the biggest lesson of all of this is just always keeping your eyes on expectation that you will succeed in this journey. That's been the thing that's carried me. I have faith, and that's carried me through. And I'm very grateful to where I am. It's been very hectic, through the move and through, managing the company, especially this month. This has been our busiest month we've ever had as a company. So and it's been crazy, but just learning to roll with each step of the way and staying strong in the process. So I'm grateful, and I'm always happy to share my story. And thank you for giving me the platform to do it.
yeah, absolutely.